All right, what we are going to talk about today are different ways to fund a whole life insurance policy, specifically if cash value is the goal. So the most common approaches are as follows. We have two of them. One is funding a policy with a fixed dollar amount. An example of this would be budgeting a certain dollar amount that we would like to fund our policy with every month or every year. I want to pay X amount of dollars to my policy for the next 5 to 10 or 30 years, however long, or perhaps it's on a monthly basis, but I'm using a fixed dollar amount that I'm comfortable with. The second method is to set it up to be flexible. How flexible funding works is that I can commit to the minimum amount only and then make additional payments at my discretion. For example, I want to be able to pay up to $100,000 per year, but I don't want to be billed for $100,000 per year. So what I'll do is commit to only $10,000 per year, and then at my discretion, I'll add more money to the policy, knowing that I can add a total of $100,000 per year. But again, I'm not committed to that 100K. If I only get 30 or 50,000 in, I'm not penalized in any way, shape, or form. We are going to look at some examples of that in this video. Now, with respect to flexible funding, what I will add is that the company selection is very, very important here because different companies have different rules around PUA flexibility. PUA represents your paid up additions rider. This is the key to maximizing the cash value of a whole life insurance policy. But when it comes to flexible funding, not all companies allow it. We talk about different companies, we talk about Mass Mutual, Guardian, and other carriers and their PUA flexibility features. But if you're interested in a flexible funding policy, having awareness on different companies will help you when making that decision. Now, the most important thing is the policy design. This is often the most important piece. If we don't get this right, we'll have low cash value, and we could be committed to a high dollar amount, especially if we're interested in a policy that's very, very flexible. I'm interested in flexible funding, not so much fixed funding. So when it comes to the design, I've got two main components. I've got my premium piece with a life insurance policy, and then I have my PUA rider. PUA, again, stands for Paid Up Additions Rider. Premium dollars typically do not show up in cash value in the first year, and sometimes the first and second year. For example, if one has a $10,000 premium, in the example we're going to look at, that $10,000 premium will not build equity or cash value in the first year. Again, sometimes it's the first and second year. Let's say just the first year. If it's a $10,000 premium not showing up in cash value, that's a $10,000 loss in the first year. You will have life insurance as a result, but for an individual who is very, very focused on the cash value, that does hurt. It causes financial pain to some individuals. It's good to have awareness around that. PUA dollars, guess what? They show up in cash value. Just about all of them. You'll see, depending on the company and rider, typically between 90 and 95% of that PUA payment show up in cash value immediately. That begins compounding. You have access to it. This is really the key to accelerating the cash value growth in a whole life insurance policy. Then we've got our MEC limit. We need to make sure we set this at the appropriate dollar amount to prevent a MEC from occurring, a modified endowment contract, which is a taxable event. For example, if someone says, I want the ability to fund up to $100,000 per year, I want it very flexible, so I'll commit to $10,000. That's what I'm billed for every year. And then I'll add up to another 90 in PUAs. My total payment would then be $100,000. So what I would want to make sure of is that I have a $100,000 MEC limit. To provide some visuals there, here's the example we just described. Total funding, $100,000 per year. What I want to do is set my premium at $10,000, PUA rider at $90,000, and MEC limit at a minimum of $100,000. If you want to fund for a long period of time, what I would recommend is bumping that MEC limit up a little bit, overinflating it to prevent a long-term MEC from potentially occurring, which if that did occur, all we would have to do is reduce the PUA a little bit. Now, with this said, we've got fixed funding and flexible funding. You could do either one here. So for example, if someone says, I want to make sure I fund my policy with $100,000 per year. That's the dollar amount I want to get in. but I still want it designed for high cash value. What you could do then is exactly this, where you've got a $10,000 premium, $90,000 PUA payment, and a total of $100,000 per year going in. To provide a quick example on this, let's take a look. We've got two policies, a lot going on. Well, let's just look at both of them here. On the left, we've got policy A, where this individual is funding the policy at $100,000 per year for 10 years. Here's his premium. Here's his PUA rider. First year, 100 goes in. He's at just about 90%. Why he's at 90% of his total payment is because that premium is minimized. Looking at the example to the right, policy B, this is the same company but a different product. 10% premium, 90% PUA, funding it up until the age of 65, 92% right out of the gates, breaking even between years 4 and 5. Over here, he broke even in a clean year 4. When you look at these two examples, again, they're the same company but different products. Here we've got a 10 pay. Here we've got a higher cash value product. Typically, when you look at shorter funding policies or periods, you will see a higher growth rate and a higher internal rate of return, which is good information to be aware of up front. But two different ways to fund a policy, and this is demonstrating what? Fixed funding. So this would be for an individual who says, I want to commit to this $100K per year, or this is the dollar amount I want to get in. I don't necessarily want to use the word commit there, so I'll back up a little bit, only because while he is setting it up where he has this fixed amount that he's getting a bill for every year, he can adjust his bill. If life happens and he says, I can't or just don't want to fund $100,000 this year, what he can do is scale it all the way down to the premium if he wants, or perhaps he scales the PUA payment down to $40,000, so his total is $50K. He can adjust it, but in this example, he can only adjust it one time per year on his premium due date. This is an example of a Mass Mutual policy. Let's continue on. So the policy design there, one of the most important pieces. Frequency. This is good information to be aware of. With a life insurance policy, you will have different frequencies in which you can make payments. This can apply both to the premium and paid up additions rider. We've got annual payments. Pretty straightforward. I'm making a one-time per year payment. Then I've got semi-annual, 2 payments, quarterly 4, and then monthly 12 payments. Whatever you are committing to, whatever the fixed portion is, that's what this would apply to. So for example, if you are funding $100,000 per year using that dollar amount, the example we just looked at, if you've got a premium, a term rider attached, that helps you prevent a MEC, and then a scheduled PUA rider. So the example we just looked at, where you had that $90,000 PUA payment, that was being billed the same time as the premium. Therefore, the insurance company will refer to it as a scheduled PUA payment. The PUA payment is scheduled to be paid the same time as your premium. Everything's being billed together, again, from the insurance company to you. So if you said, I want to fund $100,000 per year, one time per year, you would have an annual payment for $100. If you said, I want to do it over 12 months, you would divide that $100,000 by 12, but then there would be a fee as well. What you'll find with different frequencies is that the insurance company will assess a fee. So we can see the numbers beforehand, and then also what one can do is change the frequency as the years pass. If I run into a tough situation and I said, hey, I can't fund the full 100K right now, I will be able to in 6 months. Can I pay it monthly for 6 months and then change it back to annual 6 months later? Yes, you can do that. And the fees will be assessed during that time period in which you are paying monthly. So it's important to be aware of the fees. We do have videos that go over those with different companies, but if you're paying a frequency other than annual, the company will assess fees. Now, with respect to flexible funding, here's something that is pretty cool. What you can do is set it up where you're committing just to the minimum. So we can have our minimum premium, term rider, and perhaps a small scheduled PUA. I'm setting that up to be fixed. I can pay that annually to avoid any fees, and then add unscheduled PUAs at discretion. Pretty neat, right? Want to see an example? Let's take a look. So what we've got here is a policy where I'm committing to about $10,000. The true minimum commitment here is $12,000 annually. That includes the $10,000 base premium, term riders, and then we round it up a bit. So $12,000 a year, or it could be approximately $1,000 per month. But then we've got in purple here, additional PUA. So this is a policy where the individual can pay up to $100,000 per year, but he's setting it up so he's only committed to this. I want the ability to add a lot of money, but I do not want to be billed for a lot of money. So here's what it looks like if he only pays the minimum. Now let's look at the exact same policy if he adds some extra money. A total of $50,000 per year for the first 10 years. And it doesn't have to be exactly this. I just ran 10 years to keep it simple. $38K per year for 10 years in PUAs. That's in addition to the minimum premium. So in blue, your annual funding, this is your net out of pocket. So what do you notice here? 50 for 10, and then just the minimum premium thereafter. Now he can continue to add more. Perhaps in the early years, he even adds more than 50K. If he adds only 50, this policy is not maximized because he does have the ability to go up to 100K per year. So if I've got a MEC limit of 100K and a $10,000 base premium, and the insurance company tells me I can pay 10x my base premium as a maximum annual payment, how I max it out is by funding up to the maximum that the insurance company will allow. That's really the key to maximizing the cash value, just knowing the rules of the game and maximizing the limits. Now what do we have? Same policy, but what do you notice here? Still funding just the minimum, and then adding additional PUAs at discretion. These examples are with a different life insurance company, Guardian. What we've got here, 100K per year for 5 years. Break-even point, year 5. If you wanted an earlier break-even point, you could set this up with a different PUA rider fee to hit between years 3 and 4. But my point is, the additional 88 could be added at his discretion. And that can be added the same time as the 12 if you wanted to add it all up front. Maybe it's broken up over 12 months. Or maybe it's added randomly. I add 10K 1 month, then 30K, then 50. It can be however I want up to the total of 100,000 per year. Last point, how long do I have to pay? Very, very good question. You can get away with 1 year. It's difficult to do and often does not make the most sense. If you want to fund a policy for a short period of time and still want it to perform well, like you want maximum cash value and you want to see it grow as you have access to it over the years without any out-of-pocket obligation, typically 2 to 3 years will work. If you're in your late 50s or 60s, I would recommend somewhere between 3 to 4, sometimes 3 to 5 years. I would check out any of our videos that go over funding a policy with a lump sum, as we do go over how to really maximize the efficiency of a policy when one has a lump sum, and age does play a factor in those specific lump sum funding scenarios. But just to give a general answer, usually one can get away with 2 to 3 years. And then on the flip side of that question, how long do I have to pay? You can also fund a policy as long as you'd like. Now again, the company and product, more so the product selection, will be important here because there are products that are called 10-pay policies. How long do you think you could pay into a 10-pay policy? How long is the premium due? I'll give you a hint, it's in the name of the product name. 10 years. So if I wanted to fund longer, I would not be able to do that. However, with a 10-pay policy, I will see a strong internal rate of return. So it'll perform at a high level. A lot of people like that. Then I can go with products that might be called a Life 100. How long can I pay into that? Up until the age of 100. And the first example we had up actually displayed a policy that showed funding for 10 years. So on the left, we've got a 10-pay policy, and you'll see the internal rate of return does crack 5%. This is based on the 2023 dividend interest rate. And then we've got a policy funded until age 65, but he can actually continue to make payments up until age 85 if he wanted to. But what you'll notice with these two, look at these columns. The internal rate of return is stronger with a 10-pay policy. And you'll notice by year 10, where all things are equal, you've got more than $40,000 in value, in cash value, with a 10-pay policy because it does perform at a higher level. So that's a good product to be aware of, and the same is true of the longer funding option. It really depends on the individual. Individuals we work with will go either way. Maybe I want both. It really depends on how long I want to pay into it. Funding for a short period of time here. Let's close with this example. So let's look at the flexible funding scenario where we had that commitment of 12 years, but assuming he wants to stop after 5 years. Here we go. This is the same policy as the one to the left. The difference is what? We're not even paying the minimum premium beginning year 6. So this is nice because it demonstrates funding a policy for a shorter period of time and shows that I am not obligated to make premium payments for my whole life or as long as the premium is contractually due. How I can not pay the premium is by exercising what's called a premium offset that allows the dividends and interest to pay the premium for me. It is beneficial to see what that looks like based on the present dividend rate and the guarantees. That's a great way to stress test the policy. And then you'll see a death benefit drop here. In year 8, what we can exercise there is what is called a reduced paid up option. And what that does is eliminate the premium altogether, so I no longer have the ability to add money. So the drawback there is my death benefit drops and I can no longer add money, but the advantage is I don't have a premium anymore. I'll see the internal rate of return tick up, meaning I'll see stronger growth. And where that's attractive to a lot of people is especially those lump summers, people who have a lump sum that want to get it into a policy quickly. They'll get the money in. They say, I don't want to have to make payments, and then I can access the cash value at discretion, a lot like a large savings asset that I can use as a personal line of credit. And if I want to add more money to a policy, I can get another one or keep the option open on the existing one. The reduced paid up option where we eliminate that premium is not decided until we actually exercise that change, meaning we can illustrate it, but you do have to decide, I want to do this right now, and the earliest we can do it is in year 8. With all of that said, back to the topic of the video, ways to fund a policy. You can set it up where it's fixed, where I can budget a certain dollar amount, and even though that is fixed, you still have flexibility. Typically, the adjustments are being made on your policy anniversary date, which is a fancy word for the premium due date, or you can set it up where it is flexible. What people typically do here is set it up where they commit to a minimal amount and then add more money at discretion. This way the policy does not feel like a burden to them from a cash flow standpoint. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let us know. Please hit the like button. Let us know if you have any questions or comments below. And as always, I hope this helps. Thanks so much. Hey guys, Steve here with IBC Global. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're interested in a whole life insurance policy and you'd like to work with our company in setting it up, please visit our website, ibcglobalinc.com. We would love to work with you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And as always, I hope this helps.